All right. Hello, everybody. As always, we like to introduce new programs, new products, new things, what's happening in the world, of course, to our clients. And this is one of those amazing opportunities. So, you guys, I want you to really sit up and listen to this program and how it might be able to plug into your practice and really help give you, we talk about that unique factor all the time. This is something that can really add to your uniqueness in your practice. So, I'm joined today, I'm proud to announce, with my friend Michelle. Michelle, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
I'm so glad you're here because I think what you're doing is absolutely setting the world on fire. And of course, I love stuff like that. And you and I've talked about your program several times, but I appreciate you taking the opportunity to come on here and really kind of giving the rundown to our clients and anybody else, for that matter, who winds up seeing this, because it will be on our website. Um, just talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, your program, where you came from,
Okay.
and so on and so forth.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I owned a chiropractic clinic with my ex-husband while we were still married, and I loved it. Every aspect of the practice I loved. I did everything except adjust. And so I know the industry intimately. And we
Mhm.
actually dated while he was in school. So I'm very familiar with the curriculum, at least what
And
it
you
was
still
in the
married
late
him.
80s. I know, can you believe it? Yeah. So anyway, 20 years later, we ended up divorcing. So I left chiropractic. But while I was in the practice, I felt like there was a missing link, and I felt like we could offer so much more to our patients. I just didn't know what it looked like or what it was at the time.
Mhm.
And I started investigating, and I found that the missing link was actually Chinese medicine. And I'll give some examples as to why I say that this would be a beautiful thing for any chiropractic practice who truly wants to get into wellness uh, from a very, very holistic standpoint. We've all had that patient that comes in. All of their neurological and orthopedic tests are perfect. Their structure's perfect. The X-rays are perfect. Everything is perfect, but they still seem to not get better. And
Yeah.
sometimes we end up referring them out and whatever. And a really good example is the shoulder pain. I didn't have an injury. I just woke up one day and I've got this shoulder pain there. Why? Well, when we look at the energetics of different illnesses, different symptoms, different diseases, there are always warnings that run up all along this time that we ignore. We ignore the subtleties a lot of times and we only see the big things. And so when we look at the art of healing, we have to look at everything that makes this person who they are, their lifestyle, their emotions, just where they live, everything about who they are. And we will learn in the course that each decade has a set of structural issues that manifest, and they always start out from an emotional standpoint. And I think that the emotions are a big time missing link because that's where it all begins. And so a lot of people that have this shoulder pain and there doesn't appear to be anything wrong with them, a lot of times they get told they're faking it, or
Right.
we
Right.
need to send you out for a surgical consult or whatever. Well, now we're going to be able to keep those people here because there are going to be signs and ways of being able to evaluate the client and know that this is not a surgical candidate, right?
Right.
We can look at different things, like when we look at face mapping, there are a lot of face maps floating around cyberspace, and a lot of them are not accurate. And I've tested out probably about 25 of them. And I found one to be ridiculously accurate. And it dates back over 4,000 years to the Ming Dynasty. And the thing that is
So it's
so
been
amazing,
around for a little bit.
yeah, it's kind of new, but yeah. So when we look at someone's face, the face tells us everything. And there are certain areas of the face that correlate with the different organ systems, as well as the spine. Everything is connected. And so
Right.
when we can look at a person at a glance before they even open their mouth, and we're like, oh, they've got diverticulitis. Oh, they've got stress. They've got constipation. They've got a hormonal out of balance. All kinds of things can show up. Well, of course, you're still going to do your health history. You're still going to go through the steps, but it's like being able to look into the person's soul, and you can see past, present, and future
Hmm.
related to their health. And it's just so complete. And I cannot even imagine what we would have been able to do in our practice if we would have had this information. I might still be married to him, doubt it, but to stay in the practice, who knows what would have happened. But it is truly an amazing thing. And we have clients that come in, and or patients that come in, and they've got a lot of oil on the face paper. Well, that tells us something. We have people that come in with eczema and psoriasis, and these docs are over here telling them, oh, well, you can't get rid of it. You can only manage the symptoms. No, that's communication from the body telling us what's wrong. And
Right.
based on where that manifestation is, tells us what organ system, and it tells us how to fix it. So there's ways that we can keep our patients. There's ways that once we reach MMI with them, we can take them to complete wellness. Why not introduce the family to it?
Right.
And then what about the 80% who aren't struggling with pain? Right. So
They
we've
still have
opened up the
issues.
door. Yeah, we've opened up the door because a lot of people have emotional problems now
Yep.
more than ever. A lot of people have hormonal issues, digestive issues. Everything just seems to be compounding. And if we can heal the body by following nature's lead, by understanding the clues that the body's telling us, and correct it with food and simple things that don't cost the patient anything, I mean, how beautiful is that?
Well, it's fantastic, and of course, we talk about from a chiropractic point of view. We talk about that wellness component. Okay, let's get you out of your primary symptoms, but let's go to that next step. And a
Hmm.
lot of us struggle. Maybe struggle is not quite the right word, but we there's some of us that we just don't have a high enough percentage of patients transitioning from that acute care mode
Right.
into that wellness component because there's a lack of understanding from the patient of the connections there. Now, some of you listening to this do deal in the emotional and neuroemotional component of care. In fact, one of the doctors that I go to, she deals with an emotional based. She's an emotional based chiropractor, and I'm telling you, the way you feel when you leave, it's
Hmm.
absolutely phenomenal,
Right.
absolutely phenomenal. So there is a huge component here. And some of the stories that you've told me
Hmm.
about some of the patients and things that you've been involved with over the years and how much different their health is afterwards. Sure, the chiropractic adjustment's great, but man, when you can couple some of these other techniques in, and we all talk about nutrition and exercise and, the chiropractic lifestyle, if you will,
Hmm.
this is just one more factor to help open those doors to the whole wellness side of life.
Right. So when we're talking about food from a Chinese medicine perspective, we're not talking about nutrition. We're talking about food energetics, and people don't
Yeah,
talk about that. And even within the scope of Chinese medicine, there are hundreds of schools of thought, theory, and philosophy. The branch that I teach is Taoist Chinese medicine. And the reason I do is because it brings emotion and spirit into the whole realm of everything. And we have to talk about that
right.
because that is such a big factor. And, when we start looking at, I'll give you an example. We've talked about, like you said, we've talked about some of my patients. I had a patient that had a brain tumor, and she had a brain tumor 10 years ago. And every 2 years, she would have to go in and have that tumor removed.
Hmm.
It was always in the same spot. Okay. So let's look at that. Why does the body choose to put that tumor in the same part of the brain? That tells us by removing it, we didn't fix anything,
Right.
right? Well, that surgeon went in and cut one of the, I can't remember the nerve in her face, but it paralyzed her on one side, completely paralyzed her. And she was like that for 7 years before I saw her. Well, since she's been seeing me, we got spark and life back into that nerve. And so now her muscles are moving and her face is almost even again. She can move her mouth and she can smile evenly. And she just went to her doctor last week and he looked at her and said, "What are you doing? Why is your tumor not coming back? It comes back every 2 years. And what's going on with your face? It's like I didn't even cut that nerve." And, but the body knows what to do. We just have to get out of
Right.
the way, right?
Right.
And so this is what I try to explain to people. We have to look at the communication from the body. Every line, mark, feature of the face tells us something. And, I had another client that she came in and I said, "Well, how's everything going?" "Well, I had a little bit of pain in my stomach. I wasn't really sure what was going on. I found out I had a grapefruit-sized tumor in my uterus." It was either a uterus or her one of her ovaries. I can't remember now.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, well, what are they going to do about it? Well, they decided that they want to do surgery. I said, of course they do. And so I said, "How much do you trust me?" And she said, "A lot." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to ask you to do something." And it looked really goofy, but I asked her to do a particular movement on herself. It was a medical qigong movement. And I said, I wouldn't tell her what it did because I didn't know, is it going to help her or not? I felt like it would, but I didn't want to give her any false hope. So I
Sure.
said, "Just do this. This is how many times I want you to do it." And then she was going to be going back in 2 weeks for a follow-up ultrasound. 2 weeks later, the grapefruit size cyst it was half the size. And so they wanted to still do surgery, even though it was shrinking. And I said, "Keep doing that." Right. And so she talked them into waiting another month to do another ultrasound before doing surgery. A month later, completely resolved. So
Unreal.
again, why did that go away? She made no other changes except do a simple movement. And she came back in. She goes, "You're so weird, but I love it because this stuff works." Right. So I said, "Well, now we've got to change your body. We've got to change your habits, your lifestyle that led us up to this point for your body to develop this cyst." So, it's like being in a room that grows black mold. You can clean it, bleach it, wallpaper it, paint it, but until you remove the moisture that's in that room, it's going to keep coming back.
Keeps
And the
coming
body's the
back.
same thing, right? We
Yeah.
know that.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
To coin a phrase from Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
that's exactly
And
right.
if we can just help patients keep opening those doors
Hmm.
so that the body finds the right way,
Exactly.
wow, we're doing a great job for people. And of course I'm a chiropractor, so I believe that chiropractic does amazing things from people. But if we can
Absolutely.
just keep adding those little tricks to the bag, so to speak, those little
Right.
tools to help open those doors, and I think you have an amazing tool to offer. So talk about your program. How does it work? How do doctors gain this knowledge?
Well, basically, on my website, we're going to have a link and it's going to take you to the enrollment page. But what we're going to do is once a week, there's going to be a weekly drip. And for 12 weeks, we're going to have short videos explaining how to easily incorporate this into your practice. You guys already went through a ton of education. You're still going through education with your continuing ed. So I want to make this a simple transition. And how can I can view it, I can grasp it, I can have my cheat sheets that I can print off and just be able to truly understand the body on a different level. It's a
Right.
deeper, different level, but it still complements what you do. I don't want to take anything away from chiropractic. Chiropractic offers miracles daily to people. This is just going to give you a heads up and take you to a different level than the competition. It's going to take you to a level of understand the body on such a deep level that you're going to sit there and go, okay, I can see how I can expand this practice, or I can see how I can shift the practice into another way of doing things. And with all of your coaching that you're doing, that would be great. So we're going to talk about what the body is revealing from emotions, the lines, the marks, the shadowing, pigment, eczema. What is the spine telling us? Because in Chinese medicine, people don't understand that when we look at digestion, for example,
Hmm.
If someone has a constipation issue, we have to look at the lungs too, because the
Hmm.
lungs and the large intestine are like husband and wife. And then the skin is the third lung of the body. So the skin is actually a big diagnostic tool that gets overlooked by doctors. And so when we can learn the nuances that are happening in the body from a completely different set of eyes and ears, then we can address things in a more complete way just by offering simple little tweaks. And I think that the mistake that a lot of people make when they start introducing something else to their clients or their patients that they haven't dealt with before, I think we tend to overeducate them in the beginning to
Hmm.
prove to them that we know what we're doing.
Right.
And what I have found through the years is if we offer baby steps, because if they don't understand exactly what's happening and they don't know how it can fit into their daily routine, they're not going to stick to it, right? So I'm showing ways to introduce the food, medical qigong, diagnostics. If somebody does come in and they've got eczema on the body or they've got cellulite on the body, what's that tell us? Well, it tells us a lot. And so then I show you how to incorporate that into your practice. Diagnostic tools for the doc, systems for the CAs. So this is not to make the docs have more work. This is to make the docs have a better understanding of the body on such a deeper level that he's like, okay, I need you to go talk to Mary Jane over here. She's going to give you two or three things to incorporate into your daily life. And,
Right.
so it makes it really easy to incorporate it. And I know it works because I've been doing it for the last 10 years.
Sure.
Um, and I will have, like I said, PDFs and for the food aspect of it, there are actually 4 different ways of introducing food into the practice. And whatever resonates with you is what resonates. It's kind of like I'm providing a buffet of options. And when you go to a buffet, you don't always pick everything. And you especially don't pick everything all at the same time. You get what looks good at first, take it in. If you want more, you go back. And that's what this system will allow is you can pick and choose what resonates. But I guarantee that if you pick one thing, it will make a change in your practice. Because if you can look at somebody's nose without even seeing their x-ray and know they've got scoliosis, how valuable is that?
Right. Right. It's
You know,
huge.
if you can look at somebody's ears and know that they have blood pressure irregularities, how important is that? So, the face actually shows diagnostics up to 3 years before
Hmm.
it will show up in x-ray, MRI, or blood work. And but the digestive side of it is in real time. So I think that's pretty valuable because we can course correct. So somebody could have the potential of never developing an illness or disease.
Absolutely. It's fantastic stuff. So you talked about 12-week program.
Mhm.
What's the time commitment look like? Because doctors always want to know that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're all busy. So the videos are 20 minutes or less. And with a 1 week drip, that gives you an opportunity. You need to go back and look at something, or what did I say, or whatever. I mean, most people can take 20 minutes.
Right.
So I'm trying
And yes, you can,
to
doctors. You can take 20 minutes. I promise you.
Yes, exactly. So I try to be respectful of the fact that I know you guys have busy practices. You've got families, you've got, things going on. So I try to be really respectful of that and just hit the main points. We don't need the Chinese medicine history. We don't need all of that stuff. We just need get in there, get it done. When I look at the nose and I see this color, this is what it means. When I see this line, this is what it means. And this is how we introduce it to our patients and know how to correct it.
Love it. So how do they get a hold of you?
The DaoistDC.com. So TheDaoist DC.com.
And
That's
of
the
course, we'll have
website.
all that information for everybody too.
Yes. And then on the website, I will have my cell phone number. Feel free to call, text, and of course, my email address will be on there as well, Michelle at thedaoistdc.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Michelle, thank you for coming on here today and talking to us about your program. I
Yes.
personally
Thank you.
feel like there is so much value of bringing this information into the chiropractic practice, especially if you already have a basic understanding of Chinese medicine, or if you just want to open some doors of new pathways to wellness with your patients, or if you're already working in that neuro-emotional component in your practice, or you just want to create something else to offer that's unique and valuable and real for patients to see great results. So, Michelle, again, thank you. Love your
Thank you.
program. And everybody, check it out. We'll have the website up here for you and so forth. So be sure to plug in and see what it's all about. Michelle, have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.